Does being born on American soil automatically confer American identity? That long-held assumption might be facing its most significant challenge yet. Donald Trump's latest policy proposals regarding citizenship aren't merely generating debate. They're striking at the very heart of how American citizenship has been understood for over a century. He's targeting the bedrock principle of birthright citizenship, suggesting it could be stripped from children born within the United States if their parents lack legal status or citizenship. This isn't envisioned as a legislative battle requiring congressional approval. Trump has indicated he might attempt this through an executive order, bypassing the traditional lawmaking process entirely. Such a move represents a direct confrontation with the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Should this initiative succeed and withstand the inevitable legal onslaught, it could mark the beginning of a radical transformation, potentially signaling the demise of birthright citizenship as established following the Civil War. The implications are profound, suggesting a fundamental redefinition of what it means to be American is potentially on the horizon. Prepare yourself, because this impending conflict transcends mere legal interpretation. It touches upon personal identity, national values, and the very fabric of American society. The world is currently experiencing a multitude of significant events, and today we delve into one that could reshape the future of American citizenship. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Your support is crucial for our growth and helps us bring you timely analyses like this one. Also, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We love hearing from our global audience. Donald Trump's proposed citizenship framework marks a significant, perhaps audacious, departure from established norms. Is this a bold break from tradition, or a dangerous overreach? Donald Trump has consistently positioned himself as a political maverick, an individual who thrives on disrupting the status quo and challenging long-standing conventions. Throughout his political career, he has repeatedly shaken the foundations of established political and social structures. Now, in a maneuver that has elicited surprise and concern from both supporters and detractors, he is targeting one of the fundamental pillars of modern identity in a globalized world: dual citizenship. This isn't merely a continuation of previous policies. It represents a significant escalation. During his initial term in office, Trump was relentless in his efforts to implement stricter immigration controls. He introduced controversial travel bans targeting several Muslim-majority countries, floated the idea of revoking birthright citizenship through executive action, a move widely questioned for its constitutionality, and consistently promoted policies reinforcing an America First doctrine. These actions already signaled a shift towards a more restrictive view of immigration and national belonging. However, his current focus on dual citizenship takes these efforts a considerable step further, aiming to potentially dismantle the concept entirely for U.S. citizens. Please stick with us through this detailed analysis, as we will be summarizing the key takeaways and potential consequences in our concluding remarks. Trump's newest proposition aims to fundamentally challenge, if not entirely dismantle, the concept of dual citizenship for Americans. The core argument presented is that an individual cannot genuinely serve the interests of the United States while simultaneously holding allegiance to another nation. In Trump's own words, as reported by advisors, this proposed policy alteration is deemed essential for safeguarding American sovereignty and mitigating potential foreign influence. The very notion of possessing two passports, from Trump's perspective, inherently fosters divided loyalties. This, he contends, poses a security risk, particularly in the current global climate where national allegiances are under intense scrutiny and geopolitical tensions are high. This initiative is not presented as a minor adjustment or a fringe idea. It's framed as a necessary step to ensure undivided loyalty to the United States. It's portrayed as a calculated extension of his established nationalist ideology, building upon the themes of border security and national identity that were central to his first term and previous campaigns. For years, Trump has approached immigration and citizenship through the lenses of loyalty, perceived cultural purity, and governmental control. Now, by specifically targeting dual citizens, many of whom possess deep, long-standing connections to both the U.S. and another country through family, heritage, or professional life, He is actively attempting to redefine the very parameters of what constitutes being an American in the 21st century. The potential repercussions of such a policy shift are immense, potentially causing seismic shifts in the lives of millions. Should this proposal be enacted, countless Americans holding dual nationality could face an agonizing and arguably impossible decision. Either renounce the citizenship tied to their ancestral homeland, severing deep cultural and familial connections, or forfeit their status as American citizens, potentially uprooting their lives. This dilemma would impact a vast spectrum of individuals. Consider second-generation immigrants who maintain ties to their parents' country of origin, or binational families navigating life across two cultures. The emotional, legal, and diplomatic fallout from forcing such choices would be unprecedented and deeply damaging. Families could be fractured, careers disrupted, and identities thrown into question. The very fabric of communities built on multicultural ties would be threatened. Legal scholars are already raising alarms, questioning the feasibility and constitutionality of Trump's plan. Dual citizenship, while sometimes debated, has historically been tolerated, if not implicitly supported, by U.S. law and practice for decades. In fact, the U.S. State Department acknowledges that U.S. law does not require a citizen to choose one citizenship over another. Many individuals possessing dual citizenship have served with distinction in the United States military, made significant contributions to the American economy through innovation and entrepreneurship, and held positions of public trust within the government. Their loyalty has rarely been questioned solely based on holding a second passport. Critics argue forcefully that questioning the allegiance of these individuals simply because they hold citizenship elsewhere is fundamentally unfair and ignores their demonstrated commitment to the United States. Can their loyalty truly be invalidated by the existence of a second passport, often acquired through birthright in another country or descent? The critics warn that this plan could backfire dramatically, potentially alienating not only millions of citizens within the U.S., but also crucial global allies abroad. The United States, after all, is fundamentally a nation built by immigrants, founded on the principle of diverse peoples coming together under one flag. To compel individuals to shed part of their identity, to erase a part of who they are, critics contend, would be to violently tear apart that essential American legacy. Despite the significant legal and practical hurdles, and the potential for widespread backlash, Trump's base might perceive this proposal differently. For many of his core supporters, this could be viewed as yet another courageous stand against perceived threats to American identity and sovereignty. It might be seen as a necessary, albeit drastic, step in the ongoing effort to take back America, aligning with a nationalist ideology that prioritizes a narrowly defined concept of national belonging. From this perspective, the proposal isn't about creating division, but about demanding undivided devotion to the United States. Whether this controversial initiative gains any real legal traction or simply remains a provocative campaign promise designed to energize supporters is yet to be seen. However, one thing remains undeniably clear. Donald Trump is once again pushing the boundaries of conventional political discourse and testing the established definitions of what it means to belong in America. In doing so, he is igniting a fierce and deeply consequential debate at the very heart of American identity, forcing a national conversation about loyalty, heritage, and the future of citizenship in an increasingly interconnected world. The questions raised are fundamental and will likely reverberate through American politics for years to come, regardless of the proposal's ultimate fate. The legal and constitutional challenges facing Trump's proposed crackdown on dual citizenship are formidable. Is such a move even constitutional? At the heart of this complex issue lies the U.S. Constitution, which treats citizenship as a fundamental right, not a privilege easily granted or revoked by executive whim. This isn't something a president can typically alter with the stroke of a pen via an executive order. The Supreme Court has a long history of rulings that underscore the protections afforded to U.S. citizenship. Landmark cases have repeatedly affirmed that citizenship, whether acquired by birth or naturalization, cannot be arbitrarily revoked by the government. The government's current authority to strip someone of their citizenship is exceptionally limited and applies only in very specific, narrowly defined circumstances. For instance, citizenship obtained through fraud during the naturalization process can be revoked. Similarly, a citizen can voluntarily renounce their U.S. nationality, typically by signing formal documents before a U.S. consular officer abroad. However, crucially, simply holding citizenship in another country has never been considered sufficient grounds for revoking U.S. citizenship. Period. Therefore, implementing Trump's plan would likely require overcoming significant legal precedent established by the nation's highest court. So, what would it actually take for Trump's controversial plan to become law? It would necessitate far more than presidential willpower or an executive order. To fundamentally alter the legal landscape surrounding dual citizenship, Trump would need to navigate a complex and arduous process. He would almost certainly require an act of Congress. Passing such legislation involves not just gaining a simple majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, but in today's highly polarized political environment, it would likely necessitate overcoming a filibuster in the Senate, requiring a supermajority of 60 votes, an incredibly tall order. Furthermore, if the proposed changes were found to conflict with existing constitutional protections, specifically those guaranteed by the 14th Amendment and affirmed by Supreme Court rulings, then Trump and his allies would face an even steeper climb. They would potentially need to push for a constitutional amendment. Amending the U.S. Constitution is an intentionally difficult process, requiring approval by 2/3 of both houses of Congress, followed by ratification from 3/4 of the U.S. states. Achieving this level of consensus in the current political climate is widely considered a near-political impossibility. Legal scholars largely agree. Enacting such a policy isn't just unlikely, it represents a legal Mount Everest. Let's assume, purely for the sake of argument, that a future Trump administration, if re-elected, managed to find a way to implement even a partial version of this proposal, perhaps through a combination of executive actions and sympathetic judicial interpretations. What would the immediate aftermath look like? The most certain outcome would be lawsuits. Endless, complex lawsuits. Civil rights organizations, immigration lawyers, and literally thousands, if not millions, of affected individuals would immediately flood the court system with legal challenges, arguing violations of constitutional rights and established legal precedent. Foreign governments could also become entangled. Many nations have agreements or understandings with the U.S. regarding dual nationality. They might claim that Trump's move violates international agreements or creates diplomatic crises for their own citizens who also hold U.S. citizenship, dual nationals. The legal battles could drag on for years, potentially decades, eventually landing squarely before the Supreme Court. There is historical precedent here. In previous rulings, the Supreme Court has consistently upheld the rights of both natural-born and naturalized U.S. citizens, making it clear that any attempt to strip citizenship must withstand the highest level of legal scrutiny. This history suggests any policy resembling Trump's proposal would face an extremely difficult path in the courts. Therefore, is Trump's plan to end or severely restrict dual citizenship actually feasible? Technically, perhaps, with an unprecedented convergence of political backing and potentially transformative legal maneuvers, some version might theoretically move forward. But realistically, the path is fraught with obstacles. Implementing such a change would likely trigger one of the most complex, protracted, and intensely controversial legal battles in modern American history. For the time being, this proposal might function more as a potent political statement than a practical policy objective. Yet, if history has taught us anything about Donald Trump's political style, it's that he thrives in the midst of chaos and controversy. This battle, with its deep implications for national identity and security, may be precisely the kind of high-stakes conflict he seeks to energize his base and dominate the political landscape heading into an election. His strength has often resided in his ability to shift the national narrative, dictate the terms of debate, and rally his supporters around polarizing ideas. This proposal serves as a campaign lightning rod, igniting passion among his base, even if it's not a realistic legislative priority. Whether or not it ever translates into actual law, it sends an unambiguous message to his supporters. He remains willing to shake the system and challenge established norms to protect what he defines as true American values and interests. What does this mean for those currently holding dual citizenship? The uncertainty sparked by Trump's proposal can understandably feel unsettling. While the idea remains, for now, just a proposal and not enacted law, the potential implications are undeniably massive and warrant attention. Legal experts strongly advise individuals with dual nationality to stay informed about any potential policy changes. Keeping personal documentation, including passports and proof of citizenship for both countries, organized and up to date is crucial. Monitoring news related to immigration policy changes and consulting with qualified immigration lawyers can provide valuable guidance and help individuals stay ahead of any potential developments. However, beyond the immediate legal technicalities and practical advice, this debate cuts much deeper. At its core, it forces a confrontation with a critical question. What does it truly mean to be an American in the 21st century? Should the United States compel its citizens to choose a single national allegiance, potentially severing ties with their heritage? Or should it embrace the complex reality of a globalized world where individuals often maintain multiple significant ties, personal, professional, and cultural, to different nations? The discussion surrounding citizenship, loyalty, and national identity is only intensifying. For the millions of dual citizens living both in the U.S. and abroad, the question of what their future holds remains pointedly relevant as this political and potentially legal drama unfolds. In conclusion, Donald Trump's proposals to potentially end birthright citizenship via executive order and dismantle or severely restrict dual citizenship represent a radical departure from long-standing American legal and cultural norms. While presented under the banner of strengthening national security and ensuring undivided loyalty, these initiatives face immense constitutional hurdles, rooted in the 14th Amendment and decades of Supreme Court precedent that protect citizenship as a fundamental right. The practical implementation would likely trigger years, if not decades, of legal chaos, involving challenges from civil rights groups, immigration lawyers, affected individuals, and potentially foreign governments, leading to significant diplomatic strain and damage to international partnerships. The human cost could be devastating, forcing millions, including children of immigrants, U.S. expats, military personnel, and naturalized citizens, into an impossible choice between their American status and their ancestral heritage, potentially tearing families apart and disrupting countless lives. Economically, such policies could deter foreign-born talent and investment, potentially stifling innovation and harming industries reliant on global connections. Politically, while the proposals might energize Trump's core base by tapping into nationalist sentiments, they risk alienating crucial voter demographics and triggering significant backlash both domestically and internationally. Whether these proposals are a serious policy push or primarily strategic political posturing remains debatable, but they have undeniably reignited a fundamental debate about American identity, forcing the nation to confront complex questions about belonging, loyalty, and the meaning of citizenship in an increasingly interconnected world. The consequences, regardless of the ultimate legal outcome, are likely to shape political discourse and the lives of millions for years to come.